Hey guys, it's John P here. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that I learned about business, very important lessons that I learned while building Delray Watch. Now, of course, I did sell my shares. I've exited the company. I've gone on to do other things and focus more on working with startups and other parts of business. Maybe if you come over from my watch channel, you didn't know that I was involved in, or maybe you didn't hear about this news. So I'll have a link in the description below where you can hear more about my journey through Delray Watch, as well as I'll put a link to my other channel where you can see more of the Delray Watch related content. But over the years, I've learned so many things that if I had to go back and restart, a company in this kind of a way, even without the resources that I have now, these 5 things I think are crucial and critical to help a company scale quicker and just work more proficiently. So the first thing that I learned, and this is so important, is the ability to delegate. Early on, I can say, I wanted to do a lot of it myself. I had a lot of experience with technology and different startup hacks, ways of growing and scaling. And because of my background, I was kind of biased, thinking that I was the best option for this. And this may have been the case, but when you don't delegate, and when I didn't delegate, it made everything move a lot slower, right? Because not only was I coming up with the plan, I was also executing on the plan. And so when you have to wear a lot of hats as an entrepreneur and you have a startup or a business, if you don't delegate, you really slow yourself down. Now, and years ago, even through the process, I learned that things go so much more quickly and better if you find someone that's better at you at doing the thing that you can delegate and they can specialize in it. And I understand that when you start a business, maybe the funding might not be there, but as soon as you can, I'd recommend to take a cut in your compensation and, tighten up if you have to personally in order to be able to hire people so that you can delegate, you can grow quicker, and you don't have to kind of run around and be stressed out, worrying. Trust me, you'll be able to grow a lot quicker with your business. Now, next, I would avoid the herd mentality. When we started Delray Watch, very briefly, there was a bit of a herd mentality going on where everyone was focused on the AP, the Rolex, Patek Philippe watches. These are brands that are blue chip, really parts of the watch industry, which is where the business was in, that everybody wanted. It was like saying Mercedes, essentially, for cars in a way. It's kind of that household brand name. But quickly we learned that there were so many opportunities getting outside of what the herd was following, right? We were able to kind of cut off and break off a piece of the industry, in the watch industry, in our niche, which was something a little bit different, a little more value-driven, kind of the off-label brands, if you'd call them, but not really. I mean, that's kind of, derogatory in a sense, but inside the industry, that's kind of how they consider this. And so we kind of built, a following around these types of value watches where people can get the product at a much lower price and still have a little, very high quality at the end of the day. And so I love today to avoid the herd mentality, because I'll tell you what, when the herd's having problems, like you see now, people outside of the herd are generally unaffected. The next thing is sales are the lifeblood of your company. You can have the best tech, you can have the best website, you have the coolest videos, you can say the funniest jokes online, you can goof around, you can get hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, and you can do all of these kind of things where you're dancing on TikTok and people think you're so cool, and you got the pro designers making you all the things. But if you don't have sales and you don't have anyone that can sell, you just don't have a going business. You need to be able to make sales in order to push the business forward, right? That's the core function of a business, to make sales. Otherwise, it's not a business. You don't have one. It's a hobby. So you have to have someone at least on your team that can sell or has the experience with selling. If it's not you, either learn, find some courses, read some books, or partner up with someone that does have the ability to sell. That was the situation. In my case, I partnered up with Federico, and he had a very rich history of sales. I had some sales experience, but really I was focusing on the business and the technology aspects, and we partnered up in that kind of way. It worked out so well. Next, automate where possible, but not at the expense of overcomplication. Many people that I see, especially younger people, they want to automate every single little thing. And that can sometimes work out, and sometimes it can be good, especially if you're a solopreneur, as they call them, kind of, a one person does everything, a jack of all trades kind of a thing. Or this could not work out, right? Especially if you just have people of different backgrounds on your team, you're working in an industry that's maybe not the most technologically advanced or tech forward, automating everything is going to have some downsides. So if I was starting a company like that over again, I would make sure to only automate where I think it would not have a lot of friction from the people using some of the automated tools, as well as the ability to break everything, right? Because if you don't have redundancy in some of this automation, if one thing that's automated is, really the bottleneck of the rest of the processes that you have running your business, then the whole company shuts down. And so at the very least, have a fail-safe way of doing things the old school, old-fashioned way in order to be able to keep business moving. But automation's generally good. And I think moving into the future, we're going to see automation get a lot more easier for people to use, understand, and intuitive. Now, lastly, something that I learned, and I think this is going to follow me forever, and it has so far, is treat every last customer interaction as the last. What I mean by that is every single customer or person that's going to work with you or business partner, every interaction is remembered. It leaves an impact on the marketplace, on the people, your perception, how people perceive you, your company, the way it's run. And so, sure, your business might not fall apart if one sale goes bad or there's some type of issue, right? But now you start getting one, then you get two, and your online perception changes, and that carries over into the real world, and that carries over into sales. So, it's really not too difficult to just care and to actually care about the customer and make sure they are receiving what they want and they're getting a quality product. Sometimes people, they get a little bit greedy, and unfortunately, that will come at a cost to the brand perception, and the ongoing marketability and feasibility of the company moving forward. So treat every last customer interaction, whether it's digital, offline, or otherwise, as the last. So everyone, this is 5 very important things that I learned while building Delray Watch and some of the others. I have a tech consulting company and in technologies. Currently, I also invest in startups. So if you do have a startup or a business and you are looking for some type of advice or consulting, in the time being, I'm at least willing to chime in and kind of see what's going on out there. And I'm kind of repositioning myself from the entrepreneurial life and building, growing, scaling, and more back into investing and kind of pulling together some of the resources that I have outside of the capital as well. Some of the connections that I've made over the years to really help businesses grow and scale, especially if maybe they're not digitally native today. So please feel free to reach out. There'll be some links in the description below, as well as my email. And we'll see you next time. This has been John P.